I guess I'm gonna have to go back to the beginning of this channel when I first started it. As you know, Carolyn and I were working just non-stop, and we needed a break. We just needed a break. And long story into a shorter story, we decided we were gonna travel. Now, we were debt-free, had a significant savings, just got out, I had to pay child support finally. Life was looking up, but we didn't want to ruin everything we had done by spending a bunch of money so we could travel. So I started this YouTube channel, and we bought a pop-up camper. We bought the camper for $800, and I bet we didn't spend another $500 or $600 fixing it up so we could travel all around the country with it. And it lasted a year until someone burned it down, but there was no signs of a problem with it. Everything we did on a budget. And then we started traveling, and again, on a budget. At the time, the YouTube channel was only making $100 a month. And now I had a little side hustle business, and I was making a little bit of money there. But in the end, we were spending just about the same that we were making. I would say maybe $500 a month we were making and then spending. It took us a while to start, maybe 2 years before we started making more money than we were spending. Everything was a budget. I remember in the very beginning, every month we would talk about how much money we spent on living the nomadic lifestyle. And a lot of people found that interesting. They wanted to know how they could live traveling. But the key was not to travel long distances. You would see these nomads, they would travel from the East Coast and then one week, then over to the West Coast the next week, and then back over to the East Coast. We planned our trips. We meticulously planned about a year out. So we started out in, I think, Mississippi, in Tennessee, and then headed up to Virginia, and then West Virginia, and then down to South Carolina, and down to Florida. And then I guess the camper burned down there. So then we built the truck camper. And again, it was all on a budget. I don't even think we spent $500 building that camper. And it was lightweight, so we could put it in the back of our 4-cylinder pickup truck that was paid for. We would talk about food expenses and camping expenses and gas expenses and propane expenses. Everything had to fit within this budget so we could continue to do it for a long time. Then we decided we were going to give up the nomadic lifestyle. And we found this place for $4,200. And I mean immediately, the moment I said we found this place for $4,200 and had a well. Oh, you need to get that well tested. If it's no good, you're not going to be able to use it. It's going to be poison water. Now, remember, we just traveled the country, drinking out of streams, and the dirtiest water I think we've ever seen was in Texas. We had this campsite, and it had free water, free electric, and you could stay there 2 to 3 days, and you could go from one to the other. And there was enough campsites that you could travel around for 1 month. So you wasn't allowed to go back to these campsites for a month. Well, you could travel all the way around at Lubbock, Texas is what it was. And there was this one place, the water, it was poison. And it actually ruined our Berkey filters. We understood what bad water was. So we come here, oh no, you can't do that until you get the well tested. And I couldn't seem to convince people it's got water. I don't care if it's good water, it's water. And every step that I made trying to get this place set up was an objection. You can't do it that way, there's just impossible, you're gonna have to do it properly, you're gonna have to get it tested. So we bought a well pump from Amazon. It's 110 volt, most of them are 220. But this well, we was able to run off the generator. Our cheap little generator, $500 generator, Champion inverter generator. I just made a video about that yesterday. I'll put it up next box at the end of this video. But we were able to run the well pump off our generator. And that pump was only like $110. I mean, it was so cheap. No, you're gonna have to get one of those. And everything was about how much money you need to spend. Not how much money you need to save, but how much money you need to spend. And then the dreaded nightmare happened. We started building a tiny house. The first thing I did was I started building the floor. We were in the middle of the pandemic. Prices of lumber were just going through the roof. So in its place was an old mobile home. And it still had some 2x4s left on the floor. The mobile home was built on 2x4s for the floor. The trailer frame did most of the support. Now, I realize that if you're going to build a house to code, or you're going to build a house, normally you're going to use 2x8s for the floor joist. But we used 2x4s. We took the same 2x4s off the trailer to make our tiny house. Can't do that. No, you're going to have to get 2x8s. There's no way that is strong enough. Look up the code book. Well, I'm not building a house to the code book. I'm building a house about the size of a shed on a trailer frame. The key to what I was doing was the trailer frame. Well, then we ran into a problem. Some of the boards were rotten, so I would have to cut them in half. So the house was 12 feet wide, and I was only getting 6 feet boards. But I had a lot of them. So what I did was I made a truss down the center of the house, bolted it to the trailer frame. So that was out of 2x6, I think, the center beam. I was basically making 2 sets of floors, one on the right side, one on the left side. Oh no, you can't do that. You got to have it running all the way across. One continuous beam. No, I'm just building 2 houses next to each other. Well, as you can see, the house is completely fallen down. It's not working. The floor has completely caved in. You see that? Completely. Obviously, I'm being sarcastic. It's up. It's working just fine. And then every step of the house that I did, every step was wrong. You're going to have to spend more money. I can't tell you how many times I was told I was doing it wrong. They were wasting money. Well, you got to do it to code. No, I don't have to do it to code. That was the whole purpose of building a tiny house under 200 square feet on a trailer frame, so I don't have to build it to code. When the code inspector came out, because I was reported by YouTube viewer, he said, no, that's great. You're doing a great job. I mean, I remember one of the complaints was we were talking about a door, and I was thinking about maybe making a homemade door smaller than what we needed, because on one side of the door we have the shower, and then on the other side of the door we have the wood stove. And I was thinking I would like to have more room so the door isn't interfering with the shower or the wood stove. So I was thinking about making a smaller door. Oh no, you got to have a full-size door, otherwise how are you going to get a couch in there? That's why we have a code book. That way you're not making mistakes, and then on down the future when you want to put a couch in the house, you don't have a door to be able to get it through there. Has anybody seen the size of my house? Where am I going to put a couch? So they weren't even thinking through. It had to be this way, and it had to be as expensive as possible. And then finally, the nightmare was the porch. There is no way that porch is going to hold any weight. It's going to fly away the first windstorm. First huge windstorm. It was so bad, one of the solar panels flipped up over on itself. First time that's ever happened. And it landed on a rock. And there's 2 layers basically on a solar panel. You got the blue solar cells. They're very fragile. They'll break. But over that, you have a piece of clear glass. Well, it broke the clear glass. But as you can see, the porch roof has just flown completely off. It's gone. I mean, it's just amazing. Again, I'm being sarcastic. Well, here we're saying the porch isn't going to last, but here we are, first big windstorm, it's still there. It's going to take off like a kite. And then they talked about snowstorms. There's no way that's going to hold, because I used wood screws, no way that's going to hold first snowstorm. Well, I did the calculations. That thing can hold my truck if you laid it out all right correctly. That's how much it can hold, my truck. If I have that much snow on my roof, I need to be sweeping it off anyways. That's what they do in Alaska. But everything I did was trying to minimize my cost so we could actually live this dream. But no, you got to spend as much as possible in order for everybody to be satisfied. I'm trying to get back to a life of simplicity, back to the 1800s. I realize I still have electricity and I got some nicer things that they didn't have back then. But not everything needs to be government regulated in my life. Actually, I'd rather not have a lot of government regulation in my life. But that's what we have to have because everybody is trained to believe that way. And so we found this old junky trailer. But I wasn't buying a camper so we can travel around the country or anything. I was buying a camper so we could have guests. I don't need a lot of electric. I don't need a lot of things. I just need to be able to put somebody in it for a while. We got some electric hooked up to it, But that wasn't good enough. We need to hook up the electric from the pole. And I made a video about this. I don't understand why you're spending my money. Why can't we just hook it up to the solar panels? And I don't understand the mindset why everything's got to be maximum price for lowest quality. Now, the point of this video is I have done everything I can to show my viewers that you can live your dream and not have any money. I hear so many people say, I can't afford rent anymore. I don't know what I'm going to do. I guess I'm going to be homeless. No, you can own all this, but you have to be willing to reduce your spending. And that's what's so confusing to me. I'd rather be homeless than reduce my spending. Well, you're going to have to reduce your spending if you're homeless. You're going to be living in a tent. You're going to be living in a tent that doesn't have any electric. So right there, you just reduced your spending because you don't have an electric bill. So my failure is to communicate the idea that you can live a pretty normal and decent life on a very tight budget. But I just can't convince people of that. According to a good portion of the subscribers that comment, you have to spend maximum amount of dollars for the lowest quality products. So if you click this up next box to take that video where I was talking about the generator. So if I can inspire you that you can live your dreams very cheaply. Thanks for watching.